Welcome to MSP Unplugged. I am your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether you are a one-person shop or a boutique MSP, like we like to say these days, or is it nimble MSP? Whatever your flavor may be, or if you are leading a team for the journey, this is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my partner in crime, my co-host of this fine podcast, Mr. Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how the heck are you, my friend?
Doing good, doing good, man. Like I like to say, any better than BSN. It's
I hear that. I hear that. So you got a couple of accolades that you are coming up with here. We were talking about some new shifts in office settings that you have going on. You're
yeah.
making a couple shifts with the business. What do you want to share a little bit about that, or you want to hold off until the next
Well,
podcast round?
I'm sure people who watch this on YouTube will notice shortly a change in background. I tried 6 years to work from home. It was successful sometimes and sometimes not. But I am biting the bullet and going back to the office space. I just feel like I can get a little bit more accomplished, be a little bit more focused. For those of you who do work from home, I commend you because, there are times when it's been great. And then other times I can't focus because so many other things are going on. You'll spend 2 hours fixing a doorknob or, something like that. So I need my time to focus and put it back into Renactus, back into MSP Unplugged. So as of January 1st, we will be back in the office space.
There we go. I know I definitely miss the office space, especially going into something where it's away from home. You're not distracted by things that are happening at the house as well. We were just talking about early in the podcast where I love to be home to strategize, but if it's tasks and being productive, I always love being at the office as well. So I think I may take some notes out of your step, hopefully here if we can make it all work. But all right, before we go into this ramble that we usually have at the beginning of the show, I'd like to introduce one of my favorite people, our guest for today. She is the founder of Civil Consulting and the newly announced head of U.S. Community. Who am I talking about over at SuperOps? That is Nancy Henriquez. Nancy, how are you today? And you are on mute, my friend.
Of course.
We all know it.
Hey there.
Hello.
How are
It
y'all?
has been fantastic. It has been, I think, quite a few years we've had you on the podcast. I know that there has been quite a bit of journey for you to be here over at SuperOps, you finding your consulting firm, etc. But for those that have not listened to that episode and want to know a little bit more about you, why don't you kind of tell us about your journey from when we last talked to now?
Oh man. Life happens, right?
That is
um
true.
yeah, so the last time that we talked, I was at my MSP that I founded in 2016, I believe. Um and so I exited that business in 2021, and I went to go work for the MSP that ate me up, like I like to say. And then after that, I, after working for a larger MSP and kind of realizing the differences in what it takes to run a smaller one versus a larger MSP, and all of that, I kind of realized, what, my passion is not necessarily there anymore in that particular role. And so I was kind of trying to figure out, what is my next move, what's my next step. And I think the natural next step for me was, what, I've always been very passionate about helping other MSPs. From the very beginning, for me, it was about connecting with people and trying to learn from one another. And so for me, it was, if I want to make a difference, which is really what my purpose is, then the way that I can make a difference the most is by helping other MSPs be successful and grow so that they can help their businesses that they work with. And to me, that's like the most impactful way of being able to make a difference in the world. So that's that's what led me to then start Sybil consulting and helping MSPs with operations. Sometimes MSPs don't have the bandwidth to work on either their own operational projects or be able to afford a full-time COO or things like that. And so that's where I was like, hey, I can definitely help MSPs do that. I have the experience, so why not? And then that led me to, conversations with our good friend, Juan Fernandez. And he basically told me, hey, I've got this position I feel like would be perfect. And I took a look at the role and I was like, oh my God, that I think Michelle McBain said earlier today, match made in heaven. And I was like, absolutely. Oh, I get to, stay within the community and help MSPs in more way than one. So I'm so happy.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think, we love Michelle over here over at Sonic Wall as well. I'm definitely trying to figure out how to get her on the podcast. We keep missing each other, but we definitely will make sure to have her on. But yeah, I mean, I think for, it's been a lot, right? For the last several years on you kind of going through that process. I know you've been on other podcasts talking about the merging and acquisition phase and how that experience was, and really your love for the community, right? And being able to create Sybil, and now in this new role of head of the US community. I think it is a great knowing you for so many years. I think it's a great fit for that, and appreciate you coming on the episode as hopefully the first to talk about your new role and of many more that you'll probably be appearing on, because I know that, as we are good friends with Juan, and Juan loves to give us little bits of the carrot, but will not let us know exactly what is behind the scenes. And so, I knew it was one of those where, like, I forgot where we were. Oh, we were in Channel Futures. And I was just thinking, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is what's happening, but I don't know exactly because of the way how the conversations were going and stuff, and how it was just it's amazing on the love for the community, and how we all just we just immerse ourselves in that conversation, where it's just a synergetic energy that you have, especially for those that work with Juan in just other endeavors, whether it's the things that he's putting into place, having associations and relationships, and just him just wanting to help, right? Just yesterday we were talking, he's over in Canada helping a bigger MSP out there and kind of doing his thing from there. But going back for you, I kind of kept poking him. I was like, Nancy's going, huh? Nancy's over there. He would not give it to me. So when I saw the announcement, I was so excited for you, because I think that this is a role for you, right? And I think what a lot of people probably may not know is that you have come from quite a bit of the different phases of a journey for an MSP. You did start off as a break fix shop. You did start off as kind of just it being just you and getting employees, and then scaling, and then going into the MSP model. How do I make this work to be a monthly recurring revenue? Now I went through the sales cycle, if that's of interest to some of those. So not only have you seen the small size, but you've also seen the big MSPs as well, and everything in between. Plus, now you're on the other side, on the vendor side, to be able to provide that update and that information to them so they can better understand how to help the MSP community. And so I've really talked about this lately, where it was a question asked of me of, do you think vendors are doing a better job now than they used to before? And my argument has been yes, because there are new vendors coming to the space that either are started from former MSPs or current MSPs, or vendors have realized they are either out of touch or don't have the information or knowledge or education to help MSPs. So they're hiring those that have been in there, they've been in the trenches, they understand day to day, and now are trying to bring that experience back. So I'm super excited for you to be on there. And that's why obviously we're calling this episode all about community, because we definitely want to highlight on not only just the super ops side, but really what is that the company is empowering you to do to help the community. But Rick, when it comes to community, obviously we've been doing this for quite a bit now. You got involved and knew about the podcast and the MSP Unplugged community through just listening to the shows, coming to the events. What's your definition on community involvement? Because I think there's different flavors and people can view community in different ways. What does that community mean to you?
Well, I view community, I guess, the way I came into it, as share, right? That's the way if you ask me to define community in one word, I would say share or sharing. So I think it's a group of like-minded people who get together to share and help each other grow. That would be my definition of it. And which leads me to ask you, Nancy, I know this wasn't my cue, but to ask you, as you are now the head of the US community, what is your vision for where you want to take SuperOps as in relations to the MSP community?
That's that's such a heavy question, and you hit me with it so early on. Oh, all right. So no, honestly, sorry. Okay. Honestly, what you said about community, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? So for me, it is all about sharing. When you think about, and the word that we've been hearing lately is an ecosystem, right? When you think about an ecosystem, it's all of these dependencies or interdependencies one into another and all together for survival at the end of the day. And so when you think about it in that way, a community is a perfect example of what an ecosystem is. People, they do business with people they like, know, and trust. And that's something that you can then take forward, not just in, the people that you're trying to do business with, to actually get an income from, but taking that concept to all of your other partners and resources within your own community, that is, those that know what your journey is, that those that know how to work with you, how to help you, how to move you from one challenge to the next, because ultimately that's what running a business is. So to me, that's what it is. It's you get to be a part of a group of people that have been there, done that, or are about to start that journey and can start sharing all of that information, because at the end of the day, there's enough business for everybody in this industry, because the goal is to help all the other businesses, the smaller businesses, the other industries that don't know what we know. And so in order to do that, we have to be able to come together as a community and be able to figure out what is the best way to help those people. So to me, it's a large large endeavor. It's not small. And so honestly, I also see the fact that there are multiple different communities within the MSP space, right? And so bringing those together to be able to collaborate with one another, to me, that's something that would be huge, because right now we're in silos of communities, and to be able to just increase that reach to more people, to more MSPs across the world who have different experiences, then that would be able to help what our customer experience is across the board. You just never know what you can learn from somebody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, you make a very good point. And so to be fair, at the time of this recording, this is literally only day 5 for you. So there's a lot more
I did kind of load that up on you. I'm sorry.
To kind of, do for your strategy. And I'm sure that you are kind of in the discovery phase right now, but you hit on something very interesting. And I'm curious to dive in a little bit more on that. Is, we're in a time right now in the channel and in the IT industry where there's so many separate siloed communities. And for me and Rick right now, we're trying to establish not only our own community, but we're really making an initiative in the next few years is really to try and find those and being more inclusive and finding the diversity in our circles, where we're trying to find more Latino business owners that are running MSPs, more African American run MSPs, more women run MSPs. And it's amazing on hearing their perspectives of their perspective of not knowing that a community in general exists, let alone all of the amount of communities that do
Yes.
exist.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you to know, with that daunting task, to know that there are so many communities available to try and see who you can help that are in those communities, but also those that don't even realize that this even exists. Have you thought about how to really try and just not so much pull them, but to let them know there is help there available and we can come together to, like Rick said, to be able to share and collaborate?
Yeah. So you guys are asking some really good, tough questions. Day 5, okay? But I love it because I think that that speaks to the natural fit that this role really is for me, in the sense that it's not something that I'm coming to this role thinking about, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's an experience that I've had myself over the years. And I've grown up in this industry. I right out of high school, I interned at a local computer repair shop. I did start my first break fix company when I was 22. So I've grown up in this industry and have seen all of these different aspects to it, and have gone from having no help, or not really knowing who to talk to, or not wanting to talk to anybody because the industry was so closed off, or so close to the chest, back in the day. And so now it's to me, it's, if I have to go community to community to be able to get to more people to say, hey, there are so many other resources for you, then that's what I got to do. But ultimately, that's part of, I think, what my ultimate role and journey will be as the head of US community, is to just bring everybody together and to try and pull as many resources as possible. Because at the end of the day, no MSP is run the same. No matter how hard people try to follow certain large, known processes that are, working, or have worked, or whatever, at the end of the day, people change it because everybody's different and everybody's going to run their business differently. So having as many resources available to someone that can match with the right, tool, the right product, the right peer, the right mentor, things like that, I think is part of what a community should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find it. I'm sorry. I find it interesting. It's like when Paco talked about my journey into this community and how it's helped me grow, and I always give credit to becoming a member of this community and it helping me grow my business and grow my understanding, grow my knowledge base. And it's funny, you didn't realize then. Okay, first you feel like you're on this island, then you find this
Mhm.
little community, then you figure out there are a whole bunch of other communities, right? So then you have to, it's like, there's the community Paco and I are talking about trying to develop and grow, right? We're a subset of a
Mhm.
whole bunch of other people with similar ideas
Hmm.
for whatever common purpose they have. And then we're all subsets of the whole, which is
Yep.
just amazing. And you realize you think you're alone on this island, and then you realize there are, I don't want to say, but there are hundreds of other islands trying to merge together to make one, what is it, a continent, I guess, or whatever it is. But it's it's an interesting concept because, again, it's like you say, if you can find those people, like, someone like you can pull from communities, help people see and realize and expand their knowledge with other groups and with other communities, it only helps the whole. And like you said, there's two things that really are important that you said that I think all of us need to keep in mind. One, there's enough business out there for all of us, right? No matter what, there's enough business out there for all of us. And two, none of us really run our businesses the same way or exactly the same way. Paco and I are good friends. We talk every day, run this business together, but we run our MSPs differently, right? And we benefit from those differences because he can learn from some of the things I do and the way I do it, and I can learn from him and some of the things he does. And I think that helps us personally grow. But I think as a community, when we can, how you say, when we can merge that, it just helps us
Right.
all to expand.
Well,
Yes. Oh, yeah. I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
if
I
you
think.
honestly think about it, it's like the way that our world is going, right? So opening up the door to global economy has made the world a bigger place ultimately. So I think it's the same way for the industry. There's so much knowledge, a wealth of knowledge and experience on the other side of the pond, or anywhere else where you just never know how it could help you in general in your business today. So that's part of, I think, like, I find so amazing about this. It's just like there's so much to share.
Yeah. And it's all about perspective, right? And the way that you are coming about your journey, right? Rick just mentioned that, yes, we work together to run this business together. But as we kind of discuss our MSPs, we've realized that we both have different specializations that we love to gravitate toward. And there are things that just make us bang our heads against each other. And I think that it also helps with the perspective of how I see things, not only on a age wise, but cultural wise, gender wise, and just in location wise as well. Because what I will see here in the Midwest and in Chicago, he may see something different in the New Jersey, New York area. Whereas, like for you, Nancy, you probably, when you ran your MSP, you saw something different in Texas and in the Midwest as well. So it's like, it's amazing on how, your experience also as well is different than how our experience are. And we could be looking at the same exact thing. And I think that's what a lot of people who really get it is, if they open up their mind and understand that there are different ways to do it, that's the best
Mhm.
way to really learn. One example I love to say is like, I will go ahead and watch, or when it was on the show The Prophet, and they would always have on CNBC with Marcus Lemonis, who happens to be a native Chicago guy, but he would go
I,
through
I
all of
love
these
Marcus.
businesses.
I'm like, if
Mhm.
Marcus is watching, hi, I love you.
And it's amazing on how he goes through these different random business. I was going to say random, but all these different industry of businesses. But I love information, and that's just my flaw. But I love being able to see that and have an agile theory of how can I apply that to me? And could I make that work? And that's what I love, seeing things like that. And so with those that do have the open mind to really understand, here's the community, here's what's going on. Similar to like what Rick was saying, my journey was, I was looking for we were starting our break fix shop. I was looking for intake forms. I found a great community over at Tech Nibble. Shout out to Bryce Witty. And then from Bryce's advertisements that he had on his website, I found Lisa Hendrickson, who was running Call That Girl and IT
Call that girl,
Rockstars,
yeah.
and how to do remote support. And that was a very foreign thing for me, because I was like, well, I don't want to do remote support. And then I do the support and then I get stiffed at the end and they don't pay me. And so that was my biggest concern. I'm not there to collect the check. And so her kind of educating that, and then finding her show over at the Podnuts Network, which is where we had kind of spun this off. Shout out to Door. And, really it helped out for us to know that through these particular things of just learning and sharing and going through, I go through this ramble to say, previous to that, it was about 13 years that I was in the IT industry thinking I knew what I was doing. And I had learned more in that 1 year of discovering this community than I did the previous 13 years. And so that tells you something on the amount of information in the community that's available to share. Now, shifting gears a little bit from what we've talked about, um I think, Nancy, for a lot of people, there are sometimes a little weary on new communities or community outreaches from vendors. And I think that this has unfortunately been from some of the players in the space, sometimes just didn't put their best foot forward. And they oftentimes, and the community, one way or another, the community is like the market. They'll tell you what's going on. So there are some vendors out there that are not just getting the love that they are thinking they're getting. And then there are those that are really trying to force their way into a community, understanding that community don't really want you. But I'm not going to try and say any names on either of those. But, kind of going into that role, right? Because I know you, I know Juan. But what is kind of the mission for SuperOps on helping to attain and help those in the US community? And what have they empowered you to really try to do and help the community for the MSPs?
You keep hitting me with those hard questions. You know what? I'm so lucky that I got back into boxing this week. So I'm gonna like start deflecting, like bobbing and weaving here. These questions. Oh, no. So, honestly, if you know Juan, which a lot of people in the community do, then you know that by bringing him on, they made a commitment to the industry. So that's thing number one. Like that was, I think, the first big move to show the industry, hey, we're hearing you. We're listening. We're hearing what you are needing and wanting out of um, not just a tool, a resource, or what a software, but more so what the actual community needs in order to move forward. Um, and so then, the next step is hiring the US team. And so I think that has shown the dedication to that as well. And bringing the community together in a way where it's not they're not forcing themselves in that sense. They're allowing us to be able to do what we do, and which is what we love, be a part of the community, which is what we are. And so that's ultimately what I feel. I wouldn't have taken this role if I didn't believe in it. And so that is something that I think is, for me at least, it's like I feel good about it. I'm excited about it. I am so pumped to be able to, just talk to other people, other MSPs about my experience, what I went through. And, I've been calling MSPs, inviting them to the events that we've got going on in December and telling them, hey, like, I'm for real. Reach out to me. I am a resource. I talk a lot, especially if you buy me a drink, and we can have all these conversations about what the M&A is like, how to set up your business to sell if that's what you're wanting to do, or if you're simply wanting to figure out how to sustain your business today, the way that it is. It's like, reach out, because that's what we're here for, and there's no other way to be able to say that we're trying to make a difference besides making a difference. So, did I answer your question?
You did.
I'm
Looks
like,
like Rick
did I
Owens for
weave
something.
it?
That was perfect.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's extremely important that MSPs, we talk about these communities. We have our own little communities. We talk to each other. But one of the things, again, you mentioned this earlier, you do business with people you know, like, and trust. And one of those things is, I've always found I get greater value and I give greater loyalty to those businesses who who really have a vested interest in what I'm doing, right? Invested interest in me and my business growth, not just me using their product, right?
Right.
And there's a huge difference between you educating me on how your product can help me and you educating me on how you can help me grow my business, right? Whether I'm using your product or not. Obviously you would want us to be using your product, but it still goes back to that. And we as a community, we perceive that a lot. Like, we know, and like Paco was saying, we know who has our interest at heart, and who really has a bottom line at heart. Now, again, I understand every business has to make bottom line. I own a business, so we have to make bottom line. But it's definitely that difference. And Juan is those people, as you mentioned it, who you can actually trust, and that, hey, yes, he's promoting his product, but he's also helping you promote your business, or help you grow your business, and will give you that that knowledge you need. And that helps us when we're making decisions. Again, it goes back to that know, like, and trust. It helps you more so make a decision easier on who to work with, right? When you know that people have your absolute best interest at heart above everything else.
I have a Juan story real quick before I let you answer, Nancy. Is because he's right, and the fact of, like you mentioned, that and I told this to him last night when we were talking. The credibility that goes with him because of the genuineness of what he does for community and all of the things that he does. I remember there was a time when I forgot what summit or educator show that we were at, and he was talking about the customer journey, and I think that's what one of his talk tracks that he talks about. Then after he was done, one of the guys, and one of the guys asked him, they're like, all right, cool, what are you selling? He goes, well, I don't got shit to sell you. He's like, that's just not me. He's like, wait, what? They're like, well, why are you doing all this? He's like, because I love the community, man. And he's like, if there's one thing you'll know about me, wherever I associate myself, I don't have nothing to sell you. Like, whatever I'm associated with, it's gonna be so good, you're just gonna want to buy it. I don't have to sell you anything. And so that always stuck with me, because he always is the one to speak about education first, and the one that is always focused on what's the next step. You have always been on the track of, okay, great, this is what we're going to do, but how do we do it better? Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, we're not worried about like dollars and stuff. What makes sense for the community? What's going to make sense for, because like I used to be there. I used to hate it when a vendor used to do X. I used to hate when, I'll give an example of like, when vendors try to say, hey, we got plenty of MDF, marketing development funds for you, but you got to jump through hoops as a
Right.
sub $1 million company to try and figure it out. So I know that you've really been a trailblazer to cut through a lot of that and really have been voicing your opinion, even down to a particular panel in Channel Futures that, where we were talking about the future of ecosystems and the future of the MSPs. And there were 4 great MSPs up there, and Nancy being that 5th grade MSP at the time, and lit us all up and said, yeah, that's what's happening now. This is what's happening in the so you've always been the type to really ensure that your voice is heard, and being able to know that there's only just one version, and that's what is genuinely coming through from you, from Juan, from all the US team. There's a genuine collaboration that's happening for the industry, and just happens to be that SuperOps is benefiting from that. Is that a fair statement, or?
Yeah, I would say that we're all benefiting from it at the end of the day, right? Because like I said earlier, the way that I think about a community is an ecosystem. I eat, you eat, your kids eat, and we keep people fed, and that's the goal of it in its entirety. And so yeah, sure, SuperOps is a business. They eventually have to make a profit. And I hope that they do, because I think that the work that they're doing is going to impact the MSP community in more ways than we can imagine at this point. And I'm excited for that, which I think should say something, because you're right. I have always been the type of person that I am going to hold people accountable. When I was an MSP, for me, it was important for the vendors that I was working for to hold them accountable for the things that they promise, because it's not just about buying a product. It really is my kids got to eat from the profit that I make from this business. So in order for me to do that, I need the best things, the best resources that I can have in order to do that. So I think that's the way it is, and that's the way it should be. And I think that I lost my point. I'm like rambling on because I'm like, I love this so much. But yeah, at the end of the day, to me, it's the same way. If I'm associated with it, it's because I checked it out. It's pretty sweet. I'm not saying that because I work for SuperOps. They're not, I guess they are paying me to do that anyway. But I'm saying it like as an MSP, I've seen the product. And on top of that, I've also experienced others, and I'm like pretty stoked about this one. So yeah.
No, I think you said it best, where the commitment of when a business has a commitment to what their goals are, they will always get it 3 times fold back. And I think that's the situation that's happening with SuperOps. Not only do they have a great platform, the experience with working there with their team and everything of that source, the US team now expanding. I think it's going to become a very big emphasis on what you are pouring out to the community. And I'm 100% sure it will be reciprocated back, because me and Rick's big motive and big thing that we always talk about is that it should always be a 2-way street when you're engaging with a vendor. It should be a partnership. You should be invested in their success as much as they're going to be invested in your success. And although you can identify those that are not genuine about it, the ones that you do, it cannot just be gimme, gimme, gimme as the MSPs, because as a recent article that is released, I say that MSPs are cheap. And I will continue to keep saying that. It's great to be frugal. And I have no problem with being frugal, you being conscious of your resources. But being cheap means that you're not seeing the investment on what you're doing there. So
it takes money to make money.
I agree with that full-heartedly for sure. And being able to do justice and ensuring that you realize you're doing right by your size client. Rick, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you said it well, and I don't need to add on to that. Surprisingly.
Awesome. Well, Nancy, we've been talking quite a bit, on obviously your new role. I appreciate you coming out to make the announcement that your first appearance after the announcement of you becoming the head of the U.S. community over at SuperOps. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to share or discuss, or any call to actions for anybody that may be listening when this episode comes out?
Yeah, absolutely. So previously we had mentioned it's only my 5th day on the job, right? So I'm fresh. But like I said, I'm so excited about this job, and where this company is going and their commitment to the community. And so the call to action that I'm giving is, if you're an MSP out there that is listening and you are, going through anything, any challenge in your business, honestly, reach out to me. And I will try and help you if I can't directly, I will point you in the right direction. But that's ultimately what I am here for in terms of helping the community. Join the SuperOps community, community.superops.com. AI. Sorry. Ooh, I need to get that right. I'm sure Paco will have that in the show notes for you. And join the community and be a part of it. Come learn, come have fun, because I think something else that I have a top of mind is not being a part of a community is not just about business either. It's about having fun. It's about having an experience, because that's how you learn even more. It opens your mind to, other possibilities. And so it's about the whole human being. Like, if you're struggling because of mental health issues, there's resources in our very own community for that too. And so, just all you have to do is just reach out, just talk, and get the conversation started. And so that's what I am inviting everyone to do.
That's awesome. No, appreciate you coming out here, Nancy, for sharing what you do best. You're day 5 as the head of the U.S. community over at SuperOps. So I'm sure there'll be much more coming from you here in the next few weeks, few months, and even down in 2024. Rick, anything else you wanted to share before we sign off?
No, again, Nancy, congratulations, first and foremost. I don't know if I even said that, but congratulations. And we're looking forward to seeing what you do. We expect, and we know we'll get some great things from you and from the SuperOps community. So welcome, and good luck.
Thank you. And what I do have to say is, since I've talked about how I've held vendors accountable before, I expect the community to do the same thing for me. So, that's part of being a part of the community. So there you go.
Awesome.
Make sure that you hold
Nancy,
me accountable. So if I don't answer the phone, I'm just kidding, or an email,
We'll call you
shout out. There you go.
I was just going to ask, what would be the best way for the community to reach out to you? Would that be on LinkedIn, email? What would be the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, my email, nancy.henriquez@superops.ai. And then I also love to hang out on IG. So find me on there as well. Yeah, so anyway, wherever you are, I'm sure that you can find me.
Awesome. Perfect. Nancy, again, appreciate you coming out here, and we appreciate all of you tuning in. We are here every Tuesday and Thursday. Watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button to be notified whenever a new episode is available. You can also take us with you on the go on your favorite podcatcher app. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, and on Amazon Music. I'm sorry, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. I got to get that 3 times fast. Most importantly, if you love what you hear, we ask that you please leave a review so that other like-minded business owners will find you as well. But, Mr. Smith, we forgot to mention something in the beginning of this episode. We forgot to talk about our favorite thing, my friend. We are officially back on the road for TechCon Unplugged. That's right. This is the first time we're announcing it. If you haven't seen us on our socials, if you haven't seen it on there on the newsletter, we are back. September 12th to the 14th. We will be in the greater Washington, D.C. area at the Hotel of Arundel Preserve. If you want to find out more on when early bird tickets will be on sale, head over to techconunplugged.com. Sign up to get the most up-to-date information, and you'll be the first to know when tickets are on sale and all of the great things that we have coming up for our 5th annual TechCon Unplugged.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one, y'all.
We got a lot of things coming up for that. We got a few good friends that have committed, and it's going to be a great time. So if you missed out on last year, check out the video that has been posted. Check out the information. Head over to the website to subscribe. You will not regret it. And that's me putting that seal of approval on there. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.